Hi HR Nation, it's Chris Rainey. Welcome to HR Leaders, the show where we interview today's most successful and innovative HR practitioners. Today we're lucky enough to be joined by Monica Anderton. Monica is the SVP of HR at Mondi Group and is responsible for managing the full scope of HR for the United States and Mexico. Monica, welcome to the show.
Hi, glad to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Monica, fill in the gaps. Tell HR leaders a little bit more about yourself personally and sort of your journey to becoming the SVP of HR at Mondi Group.
My career in HR started, it was kind of a funny story. I was on holiday from college break over the Christmas holidays with my best friend. We needed to make some money because college students are poor. And we started working for a insurance company. And after 2 weeks and getting ready to go back to school, they were so impressed, they offered me a job. And it was for a microfilm center where they kept all the insurance records. I know I'm dating myself. And and they said, hey, we can make you a supervisor pretty quickly. And I was very young and it seemed like a great offer. So I went to work full time and started going to college at night. Within a couple months, I was promoted. And then being very young and managing people that were quite older or more diverse than I was, I spent a lot of time with HR because employees didn't show up to work, employees were fighting. We had a fabulous HR team, got very close with them, and sort of made the leap. And when they had an opening up to the HR team, and I joined them because I really liked what they were doing and finally figured out, I think this is what I want to get my degree in my career. And that was the start. I started as a payroll manager. Oh, that was fun. Don't get payroll wrong.
Oh, no, you don't want to mess with people's salaries.
Learning. And I went on to varying sort of comp benefits, HRIS. It was my early career, and then I switched over into generalist. And then I've really been fortunate that I've worked for some really big companies that are diverse in business, but always in HR. So Bell South at the time, Home Depot, American Cancer, Novellus, Silverton Bank, so a variety of industries, which has been really great, but always in the HR space and varying, increasing levels of roles.
Mm-hmm. So what is it that you saw at a very young age in HR that made you think to yourself, you know what, this is the area I'd like to pursue as a career?
I was very fortunate. Back at the insurance company, the head of HR, Linda Diaz, was a fabulous mentor. And she was also very, very involved in SHRM Atlanta, the Society for Human Resource Management. We had a big chapter here. And I was very impressed with her business skills, her capabilities, how she interacted with the business. And it was really her and her team that enamored me in the space. And I felt like I'd found my home.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So where we are now to the present day, what does your sort of morning ritual look like in terms of your sort of first few hours of your working day? How does that look?
So I'm addicted to Diet Coke. Anybody who knows me has to have...
That's a new one.
There you go. That was my
Diet
Coke plug.
It's Coke. Well, we've got them on the show as well, so I'll let Savio know.
My morning ritual. So I try very hard to have some quiet time. I'm in manufacturing, and my last role was in manufacturing, so I do usually pick up the phone and look at emails, which is a very bad habit. But when you run 24/7, I just need to make sure that everybody was safe and there were no incidents overnight. I mean, the phone sometimes rings in the middle of the night just from a safety perspective. Then I'm usually early at the office because I'm trying to catch up and plan my day and just have some downtime for me, because when you're in HR, you never know what's going to happen and it's very fast paced. And so I like to just have my downtime and my Coke before the day gets going.
Okay. So it kind of gives you an opportunity to get set before the sort of before everyone arrives and before the questions start coming through the door and the emails start coming in as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And in terms of the entire day, what normally sort of occupies your mind on a day-to-day basis?
Great question. You know, you jump from strategic to tactical depending on what's going on. I mean, in my space at my level, I should be thinking more big picture and people and where are we going as a business. But the reality is we all are day-to-day practitioners and are working on stuff. I think really it's how do I make the business successful from the people front, and sort of where are we and what do we need to do next in our journey on that, how to make the business successful.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen, on the point of strategic, have you seen the shift now to more administrative to strategic on your side?
We're heading that direction, but listen, we've got to get, at least in my current, we have to get the infrastructure ready to go, which means we have to have an HR data system or an HRIS system, which we are working on. We're digitizing at Mondi, which is fantastic. It's manufacturing, which is not always on the HR space, all digital. Our level of education sometimes is challenging, and reading capabilities, but so it's a little bit more challenging to get the folks there, but we're heading that direction. We have to be competitive.
Good, it's good to hear. So whilst you've been there so far, what have been some of the major successes that you've had whilst at Mondi, or in your career, I suppose, actually?
Yeah, you know what, let me tell you my career. Probably one of the things, there's so much I'm proud of, but one of them that I'm very proud of, going back to SHRM Atlanta, that professional group. Early on, I did a lot of volunteer roles there because my goal was I really wanted to become the president of the chapter. It still was a mega chapter in the country for the U.S. for HR professionals. It's a volunteer organization. And I spent years volunteering in various capacities, membership, finance, what have you. And I actually became the member of the chapter in 1997. And I was the youngest chapter president in their history.
Oh, wow.
And it was, what I got out of that was I wasn't quite at that level in my job, but I was running a 3,000 volunteer chapter organization with a $1 million budget and getting a lot of experience. I stood up every month in front of 500 people and conducted meetings. It was my way of getting personal development that I wasn't quite there at my job. So very, very, very proud of that. Probably what else? I think when I shifted over and I finally was a full-time generalist, I went to work for a CEO at Bell South, and I was very proud of that because I finally felt like I had made that journey, and I was pretty young. And he was fantastic, and we had a great synergy together. So that was a good one when I kind of finally went out of comp benefits, HRIS, and I finally was a full scope generalist because I knew I kind of this is where I wanted to be. And probably to me now, as I'm getting older, we won't talk about that, but I am really proud of the people that I've developed in our space along the way. I mentor people. I've got a great eye for talent. I'm not boasting. I have a good reputation for that. And I love to see people in our space in HR that I've developed. I've really had the good fortune that as I've moved jobs, some of the folks will come with me, which tells me something's working.
You're doing something right.
Or they're crazy.
It's always a good sign. Yeah, or they're crazy.
Yeah.
Too.
So, I've been very, very fortunate. Now I get more introspective about not so much me, but looking at the folks around me and watching them grow.
Yeah. I think that's the same thing for me that kept me in my last role for 10 years. It wasn't even about my own journey anymore. It was about seeing everyone else grow below me.
Yeah.
And there's no better feeling than seeing someone come in as a sort of a graduate and seeing them develop. That's the most satisfying thing, actually. Well, and also seeing their confidence grow over the first few months, because it's quite daunting, isn't it? If you can imagine coming straight out into your first job, not knowing what's happening, and seeing that confidence grow, and then after a year they're managing their own team. I think that's the most fulfilling in a lot of cases as well, and I think that keeps a lot of people in their organisations, rather than their own personal gain in some instances. On that point of personal, for you personally, what are your personal goals, both inside and outside of your role?
Yeah. So personal goals. There's another group in Atlanta called the HR Leadership Forum, and I'm very active in that, and I'm on their board now. So my goal is eventually in the next couple of years, I'd like to be the president of that group. That's a more senior HR community in Atlanta.
I know it. Yeah, I know it very well.
Yeah, so I'm in the executive committee now, and I look to keep going, hopefully to run that chapter. Love the group of people, wonderful networking. I want to probably spend more time being strategic, which is hard because I think you get pulled into the tactics every day. It's a real challenge. And I think personally, just to kind of be more physically fit and take more downtime, I travel a lot with my job, and you get caught a lot up in the day-to-day. It's a global company, so you're just going, what time is it in Europe? What time, you're running nonstop. So it's hard to find you time. And I've got 3 kids who are now all about 2 twins that are about to leave for college. So I'm about to be an empty nester, and I have a son who's a senior in college. So me and my husband are going to try and figure out what it's like to be empty nesters with the dogs.
You'll be fine. My youngest 2 brothers and sisters, they've just left home, and it's funny. My mum was always like moaning about not being there still, and now they've left. She's just any excuse to invite us over. Any excuse to invite us. She's every weekend. She's like, why don't we meet up for a Sunday roast dinner or any? There's no end to her excuses now to get us all back in there. So.
Awesome.
Crazily enough, she's actually she's a teacher, and she's just retired, and now she's actually adopted 2 children.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. It was a surprise to all of us. She's already got 4 kids that we've all left, and now she's adopted. She just loves children. She's
the best person.
She is. I know. She, even whilst we was growing up, she'd always have sort of local children from the neighborhood who perhaps couldn't speak English, and she'll sort of have them over on the weekend teaching them English. She just one of those people that just loves that. So I always grew up with different people in my house every single day, from the local area. In East London, it's very multicultural. So there's a lot of people that are traveling over from different countries to the UK to obviously find a better life, let's say. And she'd always take that opportunity to help them. Yeah. So awesome. You'll be okay. You'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
You'll be all right. The first few months, you're going to be so excited about having all the space to yourself, no noise, do what you want. And then after a few months of that, then you're going to be maybe it's a bit quiet in here. So you'll be fine. In terms of skills, HR skills, HR skill sets have definitely changed in terms of the requirement of HR and the skills that HR needs.
Yeah.
Especially in this sort of digital landscape that we are in now. Yeah. What skills do you feel will be more important in the future, and how do you think HR needs to prepare for that?
That's a great question. So I have a couple that I jotted down when I was thinking about this. I think the HR digitization is coming really fast, and I'm not quite sure what that means. And we talked that we're manufacturing, so how do we make sure that our employee base is ready for what that looks like, and how's the business ready? So I think analytics interpretation of HR in this HR digitization wave is very important, and being on the front of it, not the back. The other thing is, I think that we really need to make sure that we know how to do change management and help the organization have the ability to change and be more dynamic and evolve as the business community keeps changing at a rapid pace. I would have never said to you, 10 years ago, what's the change management idea, or how are we going to handle the change philosophy of this? And now it's like right there, and you have to talk about the stages of change because we do it so fast. I've been in a couple huge business changes where we've gotten people change fatigued, that they're just like, what's next? And you're like, take a breath.
Yeah.
HR too, I'm a huge believer that you need to have business acumen and financial acumen. You have to understand the business. And I know that seems old fashioned, but there are so many practitioners that don't. And if you don't understand the business fundamentals, you're going to have a hard time being a really good partner to your leadership team.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because everyone says it's quite outdated, but it's still something I hear every single day. 10 years ago, the whole conversation was HR in the boardroom. I remember it was a huge talk. Yeah, exactly. And it was such a huge talking point. And 10 years later, when we're sending out our profiles to our members and asking them, what are the key challenges, it's still there. It's still there. Communicating with the leadership team and understanding the overall business and how HR can help the business achieve its strategic goals is still something which a lot of senior HR practitioners are not prepared for as well, and need to be educated on a bit more. So yeah, definitely. And so how are you currently preparing then for that digital change that's sort of inevitable? It's happening right now, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we're doing it in stages, and we're rolling it out phased. So as we roll out the applications, we're not doing it all at once. Like here's a whole tool and everybody go. We actually started, and I think it was a brilliant idea from Mondi's HR group in Vienna. Fabulous idea. We started with the performance reviews. And they started it with the beta group of the executives. So we're not to get the better buy-in of their performance reviews and doing it online, and then slowly continuing to roll out the performance review process to everybody, and then the next wave, and then the next wave. So it's fast in how the iterations are going to come, but it's something that everybody can relate to, how to put in feedback, how to give developmental feedback in an online tool, very basic, because usually people are typing that up anyhow. So it's a fantastic approach, and it's helping with the change process, I think, in a gentle way, but with meaningful things, because people get very focused on their reviews.
Yeah. And have you been able to use that data to make some important decisions? Are you able to collate that data in a way which helps HR make those decisions?
It should, right? We should be able to look at all the performance ratings, look at the developmental needs that people have put in, or the classes, or the attributes and characteristics. You can download all the information, aggregate it, and now we can start slicing and dicing it and saying, hey, what's important? What do we need to roll out as a training platform? Or why do we have half the organization can't communicate effectively, or whatever the analytics are? You know what I mean? Data is very, very powerful. And we work in organizations that thrive on financial and business data and metrics. We've got to be in that same space.
Yeah. So how did you, when you realized you saw that shift and you understand the importance of HR analytics, how did you personally prepare? Because obviously it's something traditionally that HR leaders aren't taught, or it's not an area which there's not many training courses out there or information, because everyone's actually experiencing it at the same time right now. There's very few people that have come from a very technical background into HR. How did you prepare yourself for that?
That's a fantastic question. I don't know if I prepared myself, but I've got my iPhone.
Yeah,
I like to partner with young people who teach me how to use my iPhone. Ha ha ha. I'm not that old. I think you have to explore the space, read articles, understand the trends in the business. The other thing that I've got going for myself personally is, I remember I started in payroll, data, HRIS systems that were nowhere near this generation. But so I've got a really good head for analytics. And to me, it's more trying to stay on the front of what's coming and what's real and what's out there. And then will our employee population be able to embrace it? So
are you also I think you've got to be proactive, right? That's the only way to do it. Don't wait for the change to happen and then start looking into HR analytics, which a lot of businesses actually do. It sounds pretty crazy as well. So are you currently using that information that you're gathering to communicate better with the board?
I'm not at the board level, but yes, with the CEO, we're doing a bunch of sales commission and compensation. So we're crunching and we're plotting and we're doing trend analysis of how is our new sales compensation plan comparing to what the sales volume and the profitability is. So yes, we're having to kind of churn out the data, and as it becomes more automated, it makes hours of Excel spreadsheets go a lot faster.
No one's ever going to get upset about that.
No, we love data. Our business people love data. So do I.
No, it's exactly. Or you like data as long as it's easily quantifiable and easy to read.
Yeah, and yes.
Yeah, exactly. So where do you see the biggest opportunity for improvement at Mondi at the moment? Where do you see the areas that you can most improve that will have an effect on the business?
Yeah, in North America, we're very decentralized and we're through a lot of acquisitions. So we're still trying to build our culture and get the business in the Mondi format at the Mondi profitability levels. So we're really still trying to get our footprint settled down here and then get into the growth mode where Mondi expects us to be. They've been fantastic. They've invested, they put in the infrastructure, and now it's time to shine. And it's challenging. It's hard to come in when you've acquired other entities that have been acquired many times. The people side still like, who are you and what's your story? And are you sure you're not going to sell us next week? So change, back to that change fatigue, but we're getting there. But lots of change and trying to help the talent in the organization make sure that, hey, it's worth it, or come join us to build up the bench a bit. And the talent that's there, we're here to stay. This is a fantastic company. This is their space. This is our space. We know how to do this manufacturing. Let's grow.
Fantastic. It's a big challenge for everyone, isn't it? Acquiring, everyone's seems to be in acquisition mode at the moment. Everyone I speak to, and all those different cultures coming together. There's uncertainty in those businesses, so it's also about retaining that talent. It's no point acquiring a great business and half their talent doesn't come with it.
Exactly.
Because that actually makes up the business in the first place. I know that firsthand in my previous company, that we were acquired, and half the sort of talent that we had left. And immediately we went from an extremely profitable business to a struggling business. And that was purely down to the culture and the way that the transition happened. So it wasn't so much about the transition, is it more so about the employees that understand their role now in the business and the part that they're going to play. And you can't help people being uncertain if they've been acquired a few different times over a period as well. So on such a large scale that you guys operate over, how are you effectively communicating with all of those different businesses that you've now acquired?
I don't know if you ever effectively communicate with that many folks, but just constant contact. It's. I believe that you have to do the voice. I'm not a big email person, but we have a lot of folks that are email people. But I do think that you need to pick up the phone. We're losing the pick up the phone and just talk to people art. I do a ton of travel face to face. I think it's very important to look people in the eye and have a good conversation, especially when you're deciding big, challenging business things. There's a better synergy, but then there's a cost aspect. So we do a lot of WebExes to save money, but you still can get that feel, but maybe have the travel expense. So trying to stay connected and really talk to who my customers are often. I mean, some of my guys in my different segments are like, where are you today? They don't even say, are you in Atlanta? They just say, where are you? And can you pick up the phone?
Yeah, you're right. I think that's what it takes, right? And it shows your level of commitment that they see you, whether it's virtually or in the office. Yeah. I think there is no secret. There's no shortcut.
No.
There's no shortcut of doing that. And I see so many businesses investing in softwares that they can, pump out sort of newsletters, etc., to businesses. It's just not really gonna. You lose that sense. You use that personal touch that you have on that, and for someone like you, I mean, I go in and have a town hall with your employees. That'll go way further than a newsletter, and I'm a big believer in written communications and newsletter. I think people absorb data in many different ways, but there's nothing like a face-to-face and a genuineness you read in a person when you're with them. No, definitely 100%. In the business now, this is a bit of a tough question, but what was the sort of biggest mistake that you almost made?
Yeah, so this is a weird one. I thought about that. I'm going to give you a job one. So I've never done this before. I worked at a company for a very short period, about 4 months, and I had lunch with a colleague that I've known for years. And she was working for Novellus at the time. And I went back from lunch to the folks on my team, and they're like, how was your friend? How was lunch? And I'm like, I think I just went through an interview. And,
one of those lunches.
It was one of those lunches. And I was very torn, Chris, because I had only been at this new job 4 months. I was happy. I liked the job. I liked the people. But Novellus, I went and met with the chief HR person. He offered me a job. We hit it off, and I ended up leaving that job. And I almost didn't, because my DNA is more loyal, and I had only been there for 4 months, and I just felt really conflicted of, I can't do this to these people. But I left on great terms. I literally worked a 6 weeks notice, which in the U.S. isn't really typical. But we were going through a really big business acquisition, and I didn't want to leave them hanging. And Novellus was great about, no, please leave them in a good state. And so it was mutually great, but it was almost the job that got away, and it was a fantastic opportunity.
Fantastic. But I've definitely been where you are before, and it's so hard, isn't it? Because you at the same time it's not even just the business. You also have the loyalty to your team.
Yes.
For me, when I left to start this business, it was more leaving my team behind and the relationships that I built there, because we had such a great culture, and it was really fun coming to work and working with my team, and you can't really beat that.
Yeah.
Not many people can say that they can go to work and have a really fun day every day, and I genuinely managed to get that with my team. So that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't even thinking about my own career. It's about the people you work with, because you might have a great job on paper, but it's about the people you work with every day, right?
Absolutely.
Which that's what makes the business, and that's what drives great ideas, great relationships, and the business is going to be very healthy for it. So fantastic. Well, look, you made the right decision clearly, because look where you are now. Perfect. Well, that leads us on nicely to what we call the quick fire round.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you have no more than just 30 seconds to give us some amazing answers. Are you ready?
Okay.
So what was the number one thing that was holding you back from becoming a HR leader?
Probably myself in the beginning, of just having the confidence that I could do it, and then showing my value proposition to the leadership around me.
Perfect. Fantastic. And what was the best piece of business advice that you've ever received?
You'd never give up. What's the worst thing that can happen? Keep pushing forward.
Fantastic. And what's one book that you'd recommend to our audience, and why?
Favorite book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. And it's the business derailers that we all have in us that could help us not be successful. Love the book. It's a great
I've worked with Marshall.
book.
Yeah, I've worked with Marshall many times. He's led quite a few virtual sessions in the past. So fantastic guy, and fantastic book.
Yeah.
And share one internet resource that you use to increase your productivity or just stay connected with current events.
Yeah, I do too. I love the BBC because I think it's more global world news. So I stay tuned to what's going on in the world and the business community. And then I'm a big LinkedIn person. Maybe that sounds old-fashioned, but I like.
No, not at all. That is my world.
Yeah.
I love LinkedIn. Honestly, the amount of value and relationships that I've built over LinkedIn, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So great tool.
Yeah.
And what's one thing about your business that you're most excited about today?
That we're starting to turn, and we're heading in the right direction, and that we've got the right people in place. It's a great feeling. We just need to make the profits now.
The small part.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, look, it was really good having you on the show, and appreciate your very actionable advice. I'm sure all of our members would be a lot better off for it. So thank you for that. Give our listeners one parting piece of guidance, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay. Go with your gut. I think you know inherently what the right thing to do is, and a lot of people challenge it. Go with your gut. It's really, you usually know what the right thing is to do.
And it's definitely underrated, isn't it?
Yep.
the amount of times I should have went with my gut, and I look back on it and go, oh my God, I knew that already.
Yeah. Go with your gut.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, guys, look, you can head over to hrleaders.com. There you will find the episode, the show notes, the link to the books, any of the resources. Thank you very much again for coming on the show, and I wish you all the best until we next speak.
Yeah,
okay?
awesome. Thank you, Chris. Have a great one.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for having me.